Hello, everyone, and welcome to Herding Squirrels, a podcast about modern teams. I'm your host, Brandon Wetzstein of Innate Create, and joining us today is Jessica Mosley. Jessica is a quality engineering virtuoso who's been wrangling tech teams, dodging bureaucracy, and making waves in the software world for over 20 years. She's got the kind of experience you just can't fake, having tackled everything from software development to DevOps, IT, and customer experience. If there's an inefficiency lurking in a process, Jessica's the one to spot it, and she'll do it with a grin and maybe just a touch of sarcasm. Jessica, welcome!
Thank you. I love when I hear that back, because it's just like, oh, that's me? That's me?
Yeah,
I'm a badass.
right. We get, as we get older in life, you're like, oh, hey, I've done stuff.
Yeah.
Right, we should take credit for the stuff that we've done.
Yeah, all the time.
So we're super excited to have you here today, and we are just going to jump right into building. For our first build, what I'd like you to do, Jessica, is build a model that tells a story about who you are outside of work.
Ooh.
Yeah. So, Jessica, I'd love to see the model that you built.
Sure. Okay. So this is, again, my little model, my little world.
Yeah.
So we have the googly eyes that starts off with like the silliness that I love in my life, that I keep with family and friends. And we have the little flowers. I love having plants and flowers and things around me. I love the earthiness to be able to kind of like center me, keeping me in my my realm. Then we have the little step stools that I have right here, which are me trying to reach things with the help of my family and friends. This right here is meant to be like a gaming setup. I love to play video games. I love to build things and create videos, content, things like that from that. But one thing that I do love is just kind of like the lights, the camaraderie, the building, and the release of being a kid again sometimes and playing video games. And that's what that symbolizes. And this right here is kind of like a ramp to kind of like taking off, and that's kind of how I like see my life and where it's going. So that was my little version of me.
Yeah, that's fantastic. I love it, Jessica. Is there a specific game you're playing right now in the gaming space? Something that you're into?
I have. So I've been a big Destiny fan for the longest. Love the magic and space opera type stuff, but right now I just got into Doom Legends, so that is what I'm trying to not get sucked in for as long. But yeah,
I completely get it. Yes, you can lose days in those worlds. Wonderful. Thank you so much for sharing that. So this is Lego Serious Play. There's no other tricks. We're building stories. We're just sharing stories. Again, like you have it perfectly down, right? Any piece can mean anything that you want. So with that, let's jump into our next build.
all right.
So, Jessica, Herding Squirrels is a podcast about teams. And so for your first kind of team build, I want you to think about what is the best team experience that you've ever been a part of. Maybe you were leading the team, maybe you were part of a team, whatever it might be. And I want you to build a model that shows why that team experience was so good.
No problem.
Jessica, I'm so excited to see your model. Let's see what you built.
All right. So this one, I will never forget coming to this place, and I want to start it off because when I started at the company, it was a completely new endeavor for me. I had been in customer service, IT, and done like quality engineering QA on the side. It was nothing that I had thought I could get into. But at this company, which was a Taiwanese company, I had the barrier of like, oh no, this is going to be a language issue and I'm not going to be able to fit in. But once I got past it, I saw that it was just a bridge for me to learn new things and to jump into this team that had things that were different from me and different from what I had seen before. And they allowed me to not only climb within the company, but also like reach the top. And the little eye was them always looking out for me and looking out for what I could do to help, and coming to me to as I said, I started out as someone who was an outsider, but they, brought me in. And they were just like, you're part of us, and they were always looking out, and it was such a beneficial team that I have always modeled what I would like to see in teams going forward since then at that company. I loved working with those people, and still friends with many of them to this day.
Yeah. That's fantastic. I love it. I want to dig into a few of the pieces specifically.
Okay.
One, there's so many good nuggets to jump into here. The initial part, right? You saw this bridge, what looked to be a barrier, right? And it turned into a bridge. Do you think that's common for folks when they're starting new jobs, new roles, new endeavors, and if so, why? Why do you think that might be?
Oh yeah, definitely. I believe a lot of it comes from just previous experience. Majority of it is you have this idea of what it was previously, and you're just like, okay, it's just going to add on to it. It's not going to be something that I could overcome in some way because you haven't done it yet. So you kind of layer onto it rather than accepting it for what it is and allowing it to be something different in the beginning. So I do believe in the beginning it's always going to be just that sense of fear of just like, oh, well, this is going to be another weird experience or something. Just the fear of the unknown, if that makes sense.
Yeah, absolutely. No, that makes a lot of sense. Another piece of your model that really stood out to me, because I've asked this question to quite a few people, and normally the eye on the top of the tower is not an eye that's looking out for people. It's usually a different type of eye, something more along the lines of a Lord of the Rings Eye of Sauron, right, trying to find people. But tell me about what type of things create that eye to make it more of a looking out for instead of looking into or trying to find the bad versus I want to make you feel part of this team, part of this group, and welcome.
So I can give a specific example. I know very first day very first day that I was actually on with a customer, a call comes in and so this company actually did the surveillance equipment for law enforcement. So it's like the body cams, dash cams, things like that. And one of the callers comes in and they're like, oh, we have this weird error. And I was like, okay, so what is it? And they're like, it's catastrophic failure. And wait, what? They're like, yeah, it says catastrophic failure. And I'm like, this is my first day, very first call. This cannot be happening. And instead of where I think in probably other situations where it would have been, let us see how you do it, they rallied around me and were like, okay, how can we help you in going forward in this? This is your first time. It's a really crazy situation. There's no way you would have known or how to handle this. How can we help you in making this better going forward? Also, how can we know not to put messages like catastrophic failure going forward? So it ended up being a learning lesson for everybody, and that's one thing that I think flipped it on its head, because I have been in situations like that previously at other jobs. And it was essentially like, okay, we're going to see how you do it sort of situation. That wasn't this. So that's why I was like, I used the little eye as looking out for me rather than it being something where it can be, I'm watching you type situation.
I love that. Just writing down the phrase, just how can we help you?
Yeah.
It's so powerful, right? So welcoming and so supportive. Absolutely fantastic. Wonderful. Jessica, such a great model. So good that I want to see what you build next. And so we're going to jump into our next build. I know you're going to have to disassemble that beautiful model you made. But I want you to think of the opposite now. You've already alluded to that in some of the roles. But I want you to think of the opposite. What is the worst team experience you've ever been a part of? And what was the situation? What happened? And why do you think that was so bad? What were the foundations that created that experience? All right, Jessica, please share your worst team experience model with us.
All right. So with this one, it kind of signifies you have the greens at the bottom, which are kind of like the foundation, and how spread thin it is. And not only is it spread thin, but the person um, being here, which was the leader at the time, is essentially setting it ablaze. As you see, it goes from orange to red, um, with it in mind as to like, I'm going to take what I can from the foundation and just set everything else on fire.
Wow. I'm noticing a lot of use of the color red on the top there, and then it kind of goes down a little bit, like kind of what the piece that's in your, I guess that would be your left hand. What kind of does that signify?
So this is basically, it started off where it had a good foundation and began to build up into kind of like a wall of a silo, if you will. And that, in trying to patch it rather than fix it or make a culture of collaboration, it spread thin the foundation. And despite the patching, as you can see, going through, it's unlevel. It's never going to actually be level, and just set it ablaze rather than actually trying to fix it. Just tear it all down and start anew.
Yeah. Wow. Powerful. Like just the term, I wrote down multiple terms here, right? Spread thin, setting it ablaze, take what they can, silos. These are all things that clearly do not coincide with quality teams, right? Good teamwork, good leadership. So I'd love to just chat a little bit about, like, why do you think that is? Why do you think, because this is not uncommon, right? This happens all over the place. What are some of the foundational reasons for this?
I think a lot of the times it again stems from that assessment of fear that we talked about earlier. It's the judgment that possibly may come from what you have been doing or what you feel has been working for you doesn't work for the team, or having to be vulnerable in opening up their processes to other people. And there are some people who are like, well, no one's going to see me as the one to go to. There, that currency of being that go-to person within the company has become very, very prevalent, I would say, probably after quarantine, pandemic things, because we were so much more distributed. That sense of being around, oh, this is the person that I would go and chat and have coffee with and stuff in the office is no longer the thing. It's the, oh, well, go see Miriam, or go see Miriam for this. That tended to be the currency during that time, and people got addicted to it. And what I noticed is that once it got to be just a little kink or a little chink into that, people would retaliate in some way, shape, or form, and that would spread throughout the rest of the team, and you would have things such as productivity start to dip, burnout, people were spread too thin, but quote unquote Miriam still had her power. So
wow. Man, amazing. There's just the freedoms we gained from the shifts in the pandemic have also had some challenges that went along with it. I want to pivot a little bit from that and just talk a little bit about your leadership journey. Because you've had many roles, many organizations, and a good amount of experience in quite a few different arenas. As you went through your leadership journey, so I'd really like to understand, how did becoming a leader fit with your expectations? You thought it was going to be one thing. It became maybe that same thing, maybe something different. But in your experience, what was that like?
Honestly, I did not start out with thinking, oh, I would be a leader. I just wanted to be great at what I did. I wanted to be happy in it, and I wanted my team around it to be happy. It ended up where I was put in situations where people would come to me and say, well, I'd like your opinion. It started off with just something as small as that. And someone, I'll never forget this, there was a contractor out at Johnson Space Center, and they were like, you're good at leading. Why wouldn't you, try to go? It's like, hey, I'm just a person. I'm just here to do a job. And they were like, I understand that, but there are very few people who do know what they're good at and can contribute to it to better other people. Just try it. And I've been trying it for the last 12 years since. And I realized that I'm not going to be the person that knows everything. I just want to be in the room with the smartest people to contribute to that. And I think that's what's been helpful for me.
Nice, nice. What has there been anything surprising about your leadership journey or the different roles that you've been able to take on? Anything that would be maybe viewed differently from someone who was an individual contributor that they might not be able to see or understand?
Yes, how much it's more like relationships than people think. I know a lot of times when it comes to the business side or the corporate world or things like that, people are like, well, it's nothing like dating. It's a lot like dating. I mean, you're choosing, the situations that you want to be in and how you want to present yourself. So I've been able to use that a lot in helping me to see myself in my team's eyes and things like that, whether they want to pop the balloon or not. So I tend to lean towards that to be able to help me to get a better picture of things. But yeah, that's been the biggest surprise of it, because I guess maybe like many people out there, you see it, parents, grown-ups, when you're a kid, you're like, oh, they have it all figured out. No, they don't. No, they're basically trying to figure it out and have had so many pitfalls you never know about.
Yeah. Oh my gosh. So you've been leading for a while now. Mm-hmm. What do you see as maybe the biggest change that's happened since the pandemic and with all of these new technology tools? What is the biggest change from both a leadership and a teamwork standpoint in that kind of space? And what do teams need most nowadays?
So the biggest change that I've seen is how much more it does take of you, not necessarily in a corporate wise, but as a person, because you have instances where you're more distributed as teams or around the world. You have to be a little bit more empathetic. You have to be a little bit more knowing of how your team is actually working and not get bogged down into the numbers as much. You do have to be a people leader and thoughtful in that. Prior to the pandemic, I don't think that was as prevalent. It was kind of like a niche sort of thing, but as time has gone on, we have to be different. We have to be the generation that goes a little bit further and beyond, not to the point of where you're burning out yourself, because you can, you have to have the gas mask on for yourself before you can help somebody else. But understanding that there are nuances to leadership that weren't there before and will need to be there in the future.
Absolutely. That's great advice. So I think we have time for one more build. Can you do one more build with us, Jessica?
Oh, sure.
Awesome. So for our final build, this is going to be a rapid build too. We're going to do it really quickly.
Okay.
What I'd like you to build is, I want you to build a model that has advice for someone going into their first leadership role. They're just becoming a leader. What advice would you give them? All right, Jessica, we can't wait to see your advice model. What did you build for us?
All right. So this, to me, symbolizes just being open and welcoming to whatever comes the way and coming in as your authentic self. Don't try to come in as somebody else, as a version that you saw before. Of course, have ideas, but don't think that you need to be something else other than you when you come in as a leader, because your team isn't expecting like Tony Robbins or Lee Iacocca or something like that. They're expecting you. That's it.
I love it. That's fantastic. Oh, fantastic model. Jessica, I have to ask, what was it like building your thoughts and ideas out of Lego bricks?
This was awesome. I'm one of those people who love to see, like I said, building and doing things. So to take my idea and have it come to fruition, even if it's in like this beautiful little Lego person, I absolutely love that type of stuff. I'm going to buy more of these.
It's been fantastic playing with you today. Thank you so much for joining us.
Thank you for having me. This was awesome. Herding Squirrels. I love that title, by the way.
Oh, excellent.
That's so fitting for life nowadays.
Where can our audience find you and your thoughts and your ideas out in the world?
Yes, you can find me on LinkedIn with Jess Mosley, as well as at Quality Guru of Quality on Blue Sky and Instagram, and Quality is TEA.
Excellent. Well, we'll make sure we have those links in our show notes so our audience can find you. Thank you for joining us on Herding Squirrels, where we uncover the nuts and bolts of teams. Until next time.